Hello, Soul Tribe friends and family. I find it so interesting that the other day I had a YouTube reading where a dog was barking and this person commented, well, dog is God spelled backwards, which is true. And it's something that I've heard before, but as I start this video, this dog is barking all over again. There comes a time in our lives when we awaken to higher purpose, to our higher purpose. And this awakening brings upon this question of what is my life purpose? Why am I here? Like, it has to be more than just doing the same schedule every day, or being just a mom or just a dad, or working just this job, or whatever it is. Like, why am I here? What is my life purpose? You know, we're living in a time of the Great Mass Awakening. And so as far as like the human timeline, 111 as I say that, we're living in a time where the illusions are shed and the truth is very loud. And it's very clear. And that truth is your truth. If we are all truly one, right? Unity consciousness, oneness, God or Goddess consciousness, Christ consciousness, all the same thing. To be in unity consciousness is to know that we are one with all things. That is God consciousness. Therefore, in this experience where we feel so separate from God, everything in our realities that we are having mirrored back to us is trying to tell us something. Everything in this reality, right, is always reminding us who we are, which is one with God, which is unity consciousness, oneness. And so when we talk about life purpose, we're here to remember who we are, which is much beyond this third dimensional and fourth dimensional realm where there's matter and all of these different things and separation, right? The biggest trauma it is that we all share is that moment that we were separate from God. And Anubis is like coming through because Anubis really works with that energy of that trauma of separation, right? And so it's like in this world, in this realm, in our lives, our life purpose is to co-create heaven on earth. Our life purpose, we have reincarnated into this human experience to bridge, to be that rainbow bridge between heaven and earth, to bridge that third and fourth dimension to that fifth dimensional consciousness, bringing the fifth dimension and living that here, embodying Christ consciousness. And the way it is that we do that in our experience is through our lives. You know, we talk about life purpose, or people talk about life purpose, and we often attach that to career, or what does it look like, which that is a part of it, right? What does your dream life, what does your heaven on earth, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What's happening in your life when you're living heaven on earth? But your life purpose has nothing to do actually with career and with this and that, and I need this and I need that, and I need to look like this, and all of these different things. That can be a part of it. You can have a calling and all of those things. But a part of that is still separation consciousness. Your life purpose is to return to the infinite present moment of now. Your life purpose is for you to remember who you are, which is beyond everything it is that your ego attaches to, beyond your name, beyond who you think you are, beyond who you were 5 years ago, and even who you'll be 5 years from now. We are here to bring, or to remember, to embody the infinite present moment of now, infinite consciousness or miracle consciousness. And that is how we as a collective, how we as a world, as a society, create this heaven on earth. You know, it depends on the astrology, because sidereal astrology, as I'm learning more about it from brothers and sisters, it's actually way more accurate. Talk about this new age of Aquarius, right? The age of, coming out of the age of Pisces, of illusion, into this new age of Aquarius, of truth, of information, of service, the wisdom keepers, the collective. What I want to say is that this world is not going to quote unquote get any better. You're going to rise in consciousness. You know, we talk about this world and like all the destruction, right? We're in Kali Yuga, okay? We are in Kali Yuga, which is destruction, the age of Kali Yuga, which again, like there's so many different timelines and some people will even say differently and stuff like that. But we are truly living in a time where your reality without of you is meant to shatter the limitations it is that you've placed upon yourself knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously. Prices are going up, right? Prices are going up. That's happening. This is happening. There's the news that's trying to brainwash you. All of these different programs. You must look this way. You must live this way. You must live your life this way. When we are really here to just live our lives from the heart space and to remember that we're no separate from anything. Why are prices going up for everything? For you to remember that you are no separate from money. You are no separate from money. Infinite abundance flows within you, through your veins, through your cells. You are infinite abundance embodied. All of the resources that you need are here. We've been so programmed to think otherwise, which doesn't mean that say you're hungry and you don't have like anything in front of you. It doesn't mean that you don't feel that, right? But in this human experience, we feel the most separation out of anyone and anything. We're here to bridge that gap of separation and come back into union with ourselves, sacred and inner union. You know, I have a book here, The Magdalene Mysteries, The Left-Hand Path of the Feminine Christ. And she does have a rainbow here. You know, we are truly here to be the rainbow bridge. We are the rainbow bridge. And there's a lot going on in this world right now. There's a lot going on in a lot of people's lives. We have like 6 planets in retrograde, okay? And then Mercury retrograde is coming. I don't want to spew any fear for the retrogrades. At this point for me, it's like, okay, it's a retrograde. Everything, retrogrades, astrology, things that go on in your life, the dark night of the soul, those heartbreaks, everything is only reflecting back to you to return home to yourself, to the God or the goddess that is you within yourself, bridging that gap between you and the infinite source of all creation. As humans, it's like I'm surrounded by trees. These trees do not question their life purpose. They're there. And our big and silly egos as humans, we cut them down. We just do all of these different things. The trees never question their life purpose. I am that I am, and so I'm standing tall like a tree, and I don't even question it. But as humans, so like in Hinduism, the human reincarnation is one of the lowest, if not the lowest, reincarnation. Because we're the silly ones that even question our life purpose. And we make things so difficult for ourselves. Yet we think it's easy, but we're making things just so difficult for ourselves. And it's kind of silly. And a little bit of that Sekhmet energy comes in, because like Sekhmet, right? She's a lioness goddess, and she is a warrior, and she will just rip all of your self-limitations, everything within you that's keeping you from remembering who you are. She will rip that all apart until your heart is open, until you remember who you are. And it seems like destruction at first, but then like, I know, like to me, she always appears giggly afterwards. Like, this was so silly. How could you forget who you are? How silly. And so whoever you are and wherever you are right now and whatever's going on in your life, I'm going to ask that you place a little bit less pressure on yourself, and that you return to the sacred temple of your heart space and just stay there for just a moment. And that you return to the infinite present moment of now, which has always been here, but we just forgot for just a second. And remember who you are. Let go of the things that you cannot control and only take control over the things that you can have control over. And this book is opening. Release the limitations that you place upon yourself in your life of like what you necessarily think it should look like, which, by the way, visualize. You deserve your dream life. And part of the reason why I'm even making this video is because I was crying a lot today. We already know that I'm a crier sometimes. I have a lot of Pisces in my chart. I was in such gratitude earlier, where it's like my life is not perfect at all, which I don't know what people think about people on YouTube, but it's like, my life is not perfect. There are things that can change, maybe should change. There's room to rise infinitely. But I just sat down earlier and I was so thankful, like infinitely thankful, like, wow, God, it's like I'm living my dream life, and I'm so open to more. And that's the thing. It's being grateful for what you have and being open to so much more. That life that you're living right now, do you understand that that's someone's dream life? That life that, and it's like even forgiving ourselves for like, wow, I can't believe how ungrateful I was, right? It's like the life that you're living in now, that maybe you have a dream life or visualization of how life should be. There's someone that's visualizing the life that you have as their dream life. How crazy is that? And so I sat down and I was just so grateful, and I'm like, wow, God, things aren't perfect, but I'm living my dream life. And your dream life doesn't necessarily have anything to do with like what it looks like necessarily, but it's also about how it feels. You have the power to create your own reality. That's what we're here to do, is to live as a sovereign being, to live your divine blueprint, to embody your sacred divine expression, your authentic expression, to live in your spiritual gifts in whatever way that looks like. You're here to live heaven on earth. Heaven is no separate from you. Heaven is no separate. Heaven is a consciousness. And today's just been like a big day of reflection, because I was so grateful for my life and just for everything in my life right now. I'm like, wow, God, like I have an abundance of things. Like I'm like looking around and like there's trees that surround me. There's apples on that tree. What an abundance of vegetation, of fruit, of oxygen it is that I'm receiving from these plants. What an abundance of just so many things. And so as I was reflecting today too, you know, we talk about creating our own realities, creating heaven on earth, which if you've been watching me for the past 3 years, that's how I started this YouTube channel, was talking about heaven consciousness and creating heaven on earth. You are heaven on earth. And to some people that sounds crazy, right? But is it really? Isn't it crazy or silly to think that just like we are any separate from God? And I was just remembering a near-death experience that I had, which since a child, I grew up Christian. And so I know the Bible front to back. I could not go anywhere on a Sunday. If I didn't go to church, I could not even go to the grocery store. Okay, so that was like how I grew up. Very strict. Capricorn in the 4th house, which is the strictest 4th house you can have. And as a child, I would say like, Mom, we're living in the book of Revelations. You know that, right? We're living in it. And she'd be like, yeah. I have a lot of pastors in my family. They're like, yeah. I had a near-death experience 4 years ago, about 4 years ago. And which I had many near-death experiences, but this is just the most profound. Like I dealt with a lot, and so I had a lot of near-death experiences, which now, those were just initiations. Those were lessons. Those were soul retrievals, all of these different things. But this one prominent near-death experience where I just remember feeling whatever it was, like I knew that I was leaving Earth. And I was just like that, or it's like, I can't go. You know, at the time, it was my son. Because I already had my son, and I was like, I can't leave Earth. Like I can't leave my son. You know, we think about like what are we gonna think about when we die, right? Which death is, many cultures in Egypt, it's just a transition of life. You know, we think about those things, and in that near-death experience, the only thing I thought about was my son. Like I can't leave my son. I can't leave my son here. I cannot leave him behind. And as I'm feeling myself really slowly start to leave my body, this bright white light just in my face, deep voice, no face at all. That's not your son, that's my son. And as soon as I heard that voice and saw that white light, I left my body completely. So I left this realm, which my body was still there. But I left this realm and I had went to heaven, and I just experienced heaven. And this is something that I'm even infinitely thankful for that experience in this lifetime, because it changed my whole life. That near-death experience changed my whole life. And so I went to heaven, where there is just no duality. And even talking about it now, like we talk about love, one cannot simply talk about true unconditional love as a human. Like in this realm, we can talk about it, we can imagine it, we can do our best to embody it, but like pure, divine, infinite, unconditional love, that's what I had experienced when I went to heaven. And I experienced like becoming heaven. So in that experience, I became a rainbow, and I was the rainbow. And it was just, I mean, infinite love, and there's no words I could ever use to describe what that felt like. But there was nothing else that existed but love. And I came back to consciousness, and so it was an experience that I had, an experience that changed my life for the rest of my life, where it's like God, I had this experience, which at the moment I didn't feel worthy of it. And again, I come from a Christian background, so it's like, God, there's all these pastors in my family, and at the time I had a drinking problem. So it's like, we have all these pastors in my family, God, and the sinner went to heaven? Like what? That's how I felt. And what God had told me from that experience is like, why do you believe that you're not worthy of my love? And so many cultures, religions, trauma experiences in our lives, we think that we're not worthy of the things that is just present. Because God, like, yes, God gives it to us, right? But God, the infinite source of all creation, it's just presence. It is. You are, and it is. You are so worthy of infinite abundance, of wealth, of health in all forms, infinitely. You are so worthy of infinite love. You are so worthy of your desires, of your pleasures, of all of these things. There's no work that you can do, which, right, there is healing to do. So when we talk about these things, even manifestation, affirmations, all these things, like, yes, you do need to align to acting like you're worthy, right? Yeah, part of it is believing you are worthy. Do you act like you are worthy? Do you walk this earth? Do you live your life like you are actually worthy of these things? Because you are. And so something that had taught me was like the way that God loves us, which again, like, yes, it's God loving us, but it's also just the infinite presence. That's it. It's infinite presence. 144, as I say that, just is. You just are. You are just loved. That's it. Now, it doesn't mean that you can just keep on doing the same thing over and over again. That's clearly telling the universe you don't know your worth. You heard those brakes? Someone hit the brakes over there, and that's exactly what it is. It's like when we talk about manifestation, creating your own reality. Yes, it's telling yourself, I'm so worthy of these things, but are you acting like it? Are you actually allowing these things to come into your life? Are you living in a way that lets the universe know, like, hey, I deserve it. I'm worthy of this. I'm ready to live this way. Or are you putting those brakes on? Because sometimes, consciously or subconsciously or unconsciously, a lot of us will live our lives in a way where it's like we want these things, right? But then you put on those brakes. Then you're letting the universe know, you're making certain decisions, doing certain things where you're letting the universe know, okay, I'm not quite ready. I may say that I truly believe that I'm worthy, but very subconsciously, I'm not there yet. Start living, believing, and embodying that you are so worthy of all of these beautiful things in life. Of all of the beautiful things. And so I had that experience, and it wasn't a time in my life where I should not have been worthy, quote unquote. But what I learned from that experience was just the way that God loves. And from that experience, like, I changed my whole life. And this was actually an experience with, like, a shaman. Infinitely thankful for him. Infinitely. And I really just committed to living heaven on earth. So afterwards, it was like, God, well, how do I do this? Like, that experience, how do I bring that here? How do I do this? And you living your heaven on earth, you creating your own reality is living from your heart space, wide open, which it's just going to keep getting wider and wider and wider as we are so more open and open and open to expanding, right? If we want it, we have to also expand it. We need to give it to ourselves, to our lives, to others. And it was after that experience that, like, I committed myself to, it's like, well, God, how can I live my life to, like, embody to others the love it is that you have for me? The love that's just present, because whatever love that God has for me, it's just the infinite presence. I am no separate from God. We are no separate from God. And it's such a gift to be a human in this experience and to be able to co-create that life with God, that to co-create with the infinite source of all creation, to bring the infinite and embody the infinite here in the now, what a gift that is. So it's like, okay, well, first I gotta start off by loving myself the way God loves me, because we talk about all these different things, or especially with light workers, it's like we want to do things, right? We want to give to people. We want to be of service. The best way that you could be of service is to heal yourself. I wanted to change the world, so I decided to change myself. That's a quote, but it's so true that it's like, let's start there. And so like in my journey, which has infinite to go, but in my journey thus far, it's like I'm gonna be in the divine presence, in the divine I am presence for myself, and then let's give that to others. Like I pray that, and this is something that I do pray, like I pray that people, when they meet me or when I'm in their lives, I pray that in my jobs, I pray that in my career, I pray that in all these different ways, that people get to experience just a reflection, whatever reflection they need, of God's presence, of God's love, of the infinite embodied, in whatever way that is. We're just here to embody our divine sacred expression. We're here to be in sacred union within, and to embody that here, bridging heaven and earth for ourselves and creating that life. We talk about the mass awakening, you know, as more and more people awaken to this, that is how we co-create together. That is how we create. That is how we bridge this 4D to the 5D, to the 6, to the 7, to the 8, to the 9, to the 10, to the infinite of whatever there is. So if you're watching this, I'm just going to ask that you have more patience with yourself and for yourself, that you forgive yourself for a moment, just a moment in time, even if it's years, months, minutes, a day, whatever it is, for just a moment in time, forgetting who you are. Forgive yourself for that. Return back to the sacred temple of your own heart space. Come in union with your higher self, with God. And remember who you are. Whatever's going on in your life, it is some sort of reflection of how you can come into more of a union within your own self. And we have to be thankful for that. But right now is actually a very beautiful time. And it's just a reminder that in this world, in this realm, and all these different things, there's going to be a lot of fear spewed. There's going to be all these different methods of separation by everything, right? Government, society, trauma. We have 6 retrogrades coming, which retrograde is just an option. I mean, it is an option, but the retrograde is just an opportunity for you to self-reflect within. That's it. It's just reflection. It's reflecting. But you can choose to live heaven now. You can choose to be in that consciousness now. And from you shifting your own consciousness, things will and can shift without of you. Let's see what card comes out. You have Enter the Chamber of the Dark Goddess. All right. Flower of Life, divine creativity and manifestation. There is a lot of shadow work. There's a lot of reflection. We have Chiron in retrograde, okay? That's bringing up our deepest wounds. We have Venus in retrograde. We have Chiron in retrograde. We have Mercury retrograde. It's bringing all of this up to observe, to reflect, and to release. I'm hearing church bells now. All right. So whatever's going on in your life, you got this. Keep going. I love you.